Hey everybody, welcome to showitto.com or live on showitto.com. I'm Field and I'm here with Amy and Jordan Demos. How you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Yeah.
Doing well. We're here to talk with Amy and Jordan about their transition from full-time teachers to full-time photographers and kind of what that looks like because we just celebrated an anniversary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So Amy, what anniversary did we celebrate?
Yeah, we just came up on our 1 year of being full-time together in our business.
Woo! Congrats. That's such a big deal. It's a goal for so many of us is to just go full-time photography. So you guys are an inspiration going 1 year strong.
Thank you.
So tell me about this journey. You guys were full-time teachers, right? So
Yeah.
and then what grades did you teach? Amy taught.
I taught 4th grade and Jordan taught 5th grade, and we actually taught in next-door classrooms. So we were right next door to each other. We carpooled to work. We covered recess together. We did it all. We were together pretty much all day.
Covering recess together. Now, why did you want to become full-time photographers if you could cover recess together?
That's a good question.
Right?
We do miss recess.
Right. So tell me a little bit about the transition. How long did you start before you went into it, and what all did that look like?
Well, the journey kind of starts a little bit earlier because, as I know, you know, Field, but maybe others don't, we were actually high school sweethearts, and so that's kind of where this whole thing got started. And so
Yeah, I always say I knew Jordan was the one a long time before he did. We had freshman English together, and we were in the same class. It was the first time I'd ever seen him, and I thought he was the cutest boy I'd ever seen. And now when I look back at the pictures, it's pretty hilarious because he had like really long limbs for his body, and but I thought he was the cutest thing, and he had that cute puka shell necklace. Anyway.
You're taking me back.
But I was really shy and quiet at that time, so I didn't really have any idea how to get him to notice me, but I had just gotten my braces off, and I was a very strict rule follower, so I used to think, like, I'm going to do exactly what the orthodontist says, so I'm going to wear my retainer full time. But when I would go to class, the one that Jordan was in, I would not wear it during that class.
Scandalous.
I know,
What?
which was like the most rebellious thing I'd ever done.
Hope your parents aren't watching.
I know, sorry, Mom and Dad.
Right?
And so I used to, smile and try to get him to notice me, but it didn't really work.
No. So Jordan, when did you wise up?
Well, I didn't wise up until our senior year, and so it took about 3 full years before I made a decision to take someone else to the homecoming dance
Which
when
was
Amy
crushing.
had thought I was going to take her. And I'll never forget being at the homecoming dance with someone else, and I looked out into the courtyard where everybody was like bumping and grinding to R. Kelly, probably. And the spotlights hit everyone. And it was one of those like movie moments where I swear like time froze and like all the lights went just onto Amy, who was out on the dance floor with her friends, and she was
This is how
wearing.
he remembers it.
Yeah.
That's how I remember it, which is the way that it happened. And I remember Amy was wearing this little black dress, and every girl's got a little black dress, or should.
I have two.
Field has two.
And
I remember looking out across the dance floor, and it was like I started to walk toward her, like I made a miss. And it was like as I did that, her friends were whisking her away. It was like, oh, see you later.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was the moment that I knew I had made a mistake and that she was the one. And so we ended up just about a week after that started dating, and then we dated through our senior year, all through college. And then we got married 1 month after college graduation. And then that's where the whole teaching journey started that fall. So the first year we were married, like Amy said, we taught in 4th and 5th grade next door neighbor classrooms at the same elementary school.
Yeah, and that's actually where I found my mentor photographer, believe it or not, was at the elementary school. We taught at a really small charter school in a really affluent area, so it's a public school, but it was really small, so we didn't have the funds to hire a big yearbook company, so there was a professional photographer who was a dad of one of the students, and so he volunteered his time to come take like the most amazing school photos you've ever seen. Like he brought in these gorgeous soft boxes, and it was just like beautiful work.
Like glamour photos for teachers.
Yeah, like the best yearbook photos you've ever seen. And I was standing in line for school photos to get my Mrs. Demos picture taken. Mrs. Demos. And I had been loving and following photographers' blogs ever since we had gotten engaged. So something just came over me at that moment. I had been like reading about wedding photography for a year or two, and I was just like, do you ever shoot weddings? I want to come with you. I'll hold your bags. I'll work for free. I'll get you water. I just want to learn. And so thankfully he did that. and kind of took me under his wing, and that was how I learned the ropes. And quickly I pulled Jordan in. My very first wedding, I came home and was like, I know what I want to do with the rest of my life. That was awesome. So then Jordan was like, okay, well, we're going to start to do this.
Well, and that's what's funny about it, Field, is that I tell people all the time is I don't have one of those stories where it was like I had a camera in my hand since I was 5 and I knew it's what I wanted to do with my life. When I started seeing Amy get excited about something, she started showing me other photographers' blogs who were doing it full time with their spouse. And I looked at that and I was like, they get to sleep until 9. They get to walk their dogs at 10 in the morning. And I started looking at that and thinking, man, I was really attracted to the lifestyle of being self-employed. And I didn't really care what it was at first. Of course, now I love what we do. But for me, it was really about the lifestyle of being self-employed that kind of drew me in.
That freedom that you're your own boss and you get to wake up and it's like, oh, I'm going to hit the snooze, I'll talk to my boss about it later kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know what that's like. That's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, unless you have a really hard driving boss.
Always. It sets your alarm for you, that kind of boss.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were really big Dave Ramsey freaks. And when I say we're, I mean we are still big Dave Ramsey
May
freaks.
he live forever.
Yes.
So when we decided to start a business, we were going to use the exact same principles that we did in our personal finances. So we wanted to go the Dave Ramsey route, which meant we weren't going to take out a loan. We were going to save up slowly and pay cash for all of our equipment. So it was going to be a slow building process for us. So Jordan actually started coaching soccer to start bringing in extra income because, I don't know if you know this, but teachers don't get paid very well.
I think they do per hour. That's not bad. There's a rumor on the internet.
Right. Pass it on.
Two of them, yeah.
So that was our way to kind of supplement at the beginning, and then once we were able to save up for one camera body and one lens, then really slowly, you know, after lots of practice and working with my mentor, we started slowly building a portrait business and then finally a wedding business together. So it was a really slow build from the start, but we feel really thankful for that.
Sure. You know, I remember when I first met you guys, you were talking about a book you read that kind of helped you get through those steps. Now, what was that? I've forgotten.
So the book that we read for like our personal finance that helped us to build our business with all cash and with debt free was The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. But there was another book that really helped us transition from being full-time teachers to full-time photographers, and that book is called Quitter by Jon Acuff. And what happened was we got to a point a few years ago where it was January, and we had to sign contracts in January for the following fall at the school. And so we made a commitment in January that would take us all the way through the following May. So it was really like an 18-month commitment. And at that time, we were pretty convinced that we wanted to go full-time. We thought we were ready. We thought we had everything that we needed. We had a website. We had clients. We had some weddings booked. And once we read the book Quitter by Jon Acuff, we actually took an honest look at ourselves and our business and realized that we weren't ready. We realized that we needed 18 months to really build a foundation that would be able to sustain. Because one of the things I tell Amy all the time is that most small businesses fail in the first 2 years, most fail in the first 5 years, and 96% of small businesses fail within 10 years. And so it was really important to us that we built on a really solid foundation. And so we actually made the decision that we were going to stay and teach one more year at the school, knowing that we would be basically working 2 full-time jobs. And that was a really hard decision to make because we knew we were setting ourselves up for basically 18 months of, you know, getting up and getting to the school by 7:30, leaving at 4:30, getting home by 5, and then working till 10:30 or 11. And so we did about 18 months, except for that summer, of about 17, 18-hour days. But we knew that we were going to have to sacrifice in order to be able to go full-time. And so there were some principles in that book that Amy can talk about that really helped us kind of evaluate where we were. And I believe that's why we've been able to have success in this first full year of being full-time, because we laid the right foundation.
Yeah. So, Amy, what were, if you can just give me like a couple highlights or bullet points, if you will, on some of those steps that you guys took? Or
Totally, yeah. I think one of our biggest takeaways from the book was that everybody is really excited when you tell them, we're going to quit our jobs.
Right.
And everyone is like, yeah. like, go do it, you know, like, you go get them, like, live the American dream.
Go live my dream.
Yeah. And then, you know, they're not around when the bills come at the end of the month. And that was Jon Acuff's point, was we get so excited, but it's really important that you evaluate where you are financially so that you don't crash and burn.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, we really wanted to make sure that we were ready. And what Jon Acuff really talked about, which helped us, it was more of a heart change than anything, was that last year or two, because it was like we were working 2 full-time jobs, we started to resent some of the time that we were spending at school because it was taking us away from our dream.
Mm-hmm.
And what Jon Acuff really encourages you to do is to fall in like with your day job. And for us, that was a really good heart change and mind change for us,
mm-hmm.
to start appreciating our job for all the things that it did for us, which actually in turn helped us get to our dream job. So, for example, he talks about how your day job is really like paid on-the-job training for your dream job. And when we first looked at that, we were like, okay, photography and teaching have nothing in common.
Nice pipe dream guy.
Right? I know, we're like, well, if he's talking about a graphic designer, you know, we were like, that makes sense. But the more we talked about it, the more we were like, you know what, we really do learn a lot in our current job. So we had to really evaluate, what are we learning now that will be helpful in the future? So we taught in, as I said, a really affluent school. So most of the parents were entrepreneurs themselves. They were surgeons, they were pilots, they were attorneys, they were really high-end professionals.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had the opportunity to be working with high-end professionals all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Every Monday we would have to send out a newsletter to all these high-end professionals about what was going on in the classroom, which really helped us strengthen communication skills. And now Jordan and I actually send out a newsletter every Monday for photographers.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many bridges and things that we started to be like, you know what, we actually are learning a lot. And it's like our school job is paying for us to learn and train and practice in these things. So email communication, we would have to get up and give presentations to the parents about the curriculum and back to school night, parent night, all those kinds of things. So the more we thought about it, the more that we were like, you know what, if we really dissect our job, there are so many great skills that we're learning and practicing, and we're getting paid for it.
That's
So
awesome.
that for us was a really big mindset change.
And that was one of the things too, Field, is that when we were working in our full-time job, there was a period of time where we felt bitter and angry and resentful every day that we had to get up and go. And Amy remembers, especially during that time period before we read Quitter, it was hard to get me out of bed in the morning. It was the type of thing where if we had to leave at 7, I would roll out of bed at 6:58, throw on my clothes for school, and then I would go. And what we really had a heart change on was Jon Acuff basically said, when you have a full-time job that's paying your bills, you have one boss. But as soon as you quit your job to go full-time, you have dozens of bosses. So your electric bill becomes your boss,
mm-hmm.
your mortgage becomes your boss. You have all of these things that you're answerable to and that you have to be responsible for. And that's something that we really can see after this first full year of being full-time. There are so many different expenses, not just for your personal life, but also for your business, and the added tax burden that you have, where you really have this huge umbrella of responsibilities, whereas before, if we didn't succeed in our photography business, it was okay because we had another job that kept us in our home. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that we really learned from Jon Acuff, that we encourage other photographers, is that if you're someone who's thinking about going from full-time in one business to full-time in photography, just know that it's okay to build slow. I think there's a little bit of a myth that if you don't shoot out of nowhere and go full-time right away, that there's something wrong with you. And you hear these success stories from photographers all across the country where it was like, oh, we picked up a camera and in 6 months we were full-time and we made $400,000. But those stories are 1 in a million. And so I think for most of us who are in the position that we were in, it was really important for us to build slowly so that once we made the transition, we never had to go back. And that was the thing for us.
So what was the time from the starting with the yearbook photos until the last day of school? What was that? How long of a time period was that?
It was 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from the first, I mean, that was the first school year all the way through. And then we read Quitter
a few years after that.
Yeah, so probably about 2 years into it.
Mm-hmm.
And once we read it all the way through, we were like, we are not ready to do this. And we felt so thankful that we read that book. So now whenever photographers are asking us, you know, how do we know when we're ready, we really encourage people to read Quitter, because for us, it really walks you through all the processes that you need to ask yourself. and talks you into why you should quit your job, and then kind of talks you back out of it and brings you back and forth to the point where you know in your gut whether you're ready or not.
Well, and that was one of the things too, Phil, since you asked about the time frame, the 4-year period, it was kind of one of those things where for the first 2 years, we were just kind of like learning about photography. We were just kind of exploring. We were, we bought like a camera and a lens in 2010. In 2011, we bought a second camera, a second lens, and a flash. And then in 2000...
We didn't shoot our first wedding until 2011. So we had about a year where we were just learning things, and 2011 was when we shot our first wedding together.
Right. So it was really like the first 2 years we were just kind of figuring things out, and then the second 2 years when we really kicked it into high gear.
Awesome. Awesome. And if you guys have any questions, I saw JT put it up there, but if you guys have any questions for Amy and Jordan, please go ahead and ask away, and I'll try and pay attention. They'll throw something heavy at me, and we'll get those in there. So what's it like? I mean, you guys worked in the same space together. What's it like working basically for each other? How's that transition been? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
Jordan, what's it like working with your wife?
Well, honestly, it's like, sometimes we'll have people who will come to us and they'll say like, wow, I can't believe you spend all day with your wife. I could never do that. Or I can't believe you spent all day with your husband. I would kill him. And I think the reality is I kind of joke with people that Amy and I have really been inseparable since our last year of high school, and so we're celebrating our 5-year wedding anniversary this summer, our 10-year dating anniversary, thank you, this fall, and so I joke sometimes that we're like two kittens from the same litter. And it's like we don't
Which
know.
I think is weird.
She thinks is weird.
That makes us sound like brother and sister.
But obviously we're not brother and sister.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right, that can't be.
Yeah, I know.
But just to say that we've been doing life together for 10 years, and so we don't really know any different. I don't know what it's like to be separated from Amy for an entire workday, and I think there's a little bit of a misconception that not all husband and wives can do this. I think that once you're put in the position where you're spending that much time together, it's actually marriage building and marriage strengthening versus anything else, because we're working through a lot of hard things together, and we're problem solving together. We're enjoying successes together, and we're going through setbacks together and working through those. And so for us it's been great, and I think for a lot of husband and wife potential teams who don't think they could do it, I think they can. I think you just have to get going and get started doing it, and over time you will just naturally kind of fuse into one cohesive unit as a team.
Definitely, and I just feel really thankful because we each have pretty separate roles in our business, so they're really defined and we know what we're doing. So there will be some times where it might even be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours where we don't even speak to each other because we're both so tunnel vision on our task, but then that ability to sit down and have lunch together is so nice, just to be able to prepare a warm meal in our own kitchen. The change from teaching elementary school when you don't even get to go to the bathroom when you want to. You have all the kids asking you when they can go to the bathroom, but there were so many restrictions in our other job that we were like, we can use the bathroom whenever we want. Like, we can eat a warm meal at lunch, things that we just never had the opportunity to do when we were at school. So we were like, is this real life? Like, this is what other people do? They just go to the bathroom whenever they want.
Right. So greatest part of owning my own business, I can go to the restroom whenever I need to.
This is true.
Right. Write that down. Biggest pro. So great. So let's see, Matt Kennedy, you're obviously looking at that part.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Oh, but, flattery.
I know, right? And everybody in non-large plaid is what he said. No, so that's interesting. And then you guys you're the caretakers of two wonderful animals with amazing names. There's Mr. Carson.
Yes.
Right? And then William Wallace, who is a beast.
He is a beast.
Yes. So,
yeah, when we made the leap to full-time, one of our first official decisions was to get office kittens.
Okay.
It may or may not have been an emotional decision.
Right.
I was just like, we're going to be home all the time. This will be so fun to have something cuddly. And it totally decreases productivity because Mr. Carson will come, like, jump up on my lap when I'm editing and lay down on the computer. But we love our two cats so much. And they're actually we just came up on our 1-year anniversary, and they're coming up on their 1-year birthday. So, yeah, we love those little guys. And we're bringing cats back.
Yeah, bringing them back.
We're bringing them back. On Instagram, so many dogs are so popular on Instagram.
I don't think
But
this is
we're-
true.
Boca, that means you.
Yeah, Boca, Dixie Schnauzer, but we're bringing cats back,
Yeah.
and I never thought that I would be a cat lady, but here I am. And that's just the way it
That's
is.
just the way it is.
That's just the way it is.
Me talking to a couple of cat ladies. Well, Sabrina Fields actually had a good question.
Oh,
do you
yeah.
guys share an office, or do you work in two different
Oh,
rooms?
that's a really good question. Most husband and wife teams that we talk to have their own separate offices.
Mhm.
We've actually kind of migrated out into our living room is where we actually do most of our work. So we are in the same space
Yeah,
pretty
well,
much all the time.
and part of it is that we do have an office, but our office is really warm because the sun hits it in the afternoons.
Because
So
we live in Arizona.
We live in Arizona, so we tried that for a little while, and it was either like spend a ton of money on electricity to keep it cool,
Mhm.
or just move out. So actually, Amy works from the couch
Most of the time.
most of the time, and I work from the kitchen table most of the time. So we're in the same room, just a few feet apart.
I also work from the kitchen table all the time.
I love it.
It's not actually work. It's eating
Bacon.
bacon.
Lots of bacon.
Large quantities. Let's see. Yes, Elisa was our guest last week.
Oh, she didn't get
Yes, and so no, it's not coffee. It's
Elisa, it's water.
It's water. And there are currently no homemade chocolate chip cookies, which is sad, but I mean, now we won't be jealous of that, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, anything else about the transition? What was the hardest part for you guys? I mean, was there anything really hard that you maybe haven't mentioned yet?
I think the hardest part was making the decision to do it.
Mhm.
It was something that was really scary, especially because we made that decision to go together.
Mhm.
So originally we wanted to play it safe, and it was like, okay, one of us will leave and one of us will continue to have a salary and benefits.
So what did that look like? Who was going to be the one to stay
Well,
behind?
that's really
That's a
interesting,
good
actually,
question.
because as we got to that last year, and we had read Quitter, and we started seeking out people that could help us kind of make the decision. And one of the things that we decided to do is we decided to pray about it, and we just said, you know what, God, bring us signs in the form of people, like bring people to us that will help us confirm that this is the right decision.
Mhm.
And what's funny is that originally we had planned for Amy to leave the school
Mhm.
and go full-time, and I was going to stay and work one more year at the school to make sure that our financial security was in place. And what was funny is that as God started bringing more and more people into our life, he brought people of all ages, but they were all entrepreneurs in different fields, different businesses. And the one thing that they all kept saying to us is, if anyone should go full-time, it should be Jordan. But, and there was always a but, we think you should both go full-time. And that completely surprised us, but the thing that they told us is they said, you have to look at this as like a 2-year period of time. And they said, do you think you'll grow faster in 2 years where you have 1 year of one person full-time and then 1 year of both of you full-time? Or in 2 years with both of you putting all of your weight behind the business? And that was something we had never considered before, and we were so thankful that God brought all those people to us because they really encouraged us in the right way. And we talk about this all the time, that when we were in high school, Amy was 17, I was 18, and we kind of like sat down and we didn't write down like our goals for our life together.
Because no 17-year-old
nobody does that. But we used to
I want a
joke.
Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Sweet.
we used to talk about, what do we want out of our life? And we always came back to the same thing, is that our goal in life is to maximize the amount of time we can spend together. And that was always the goal for us. And so I told Amy, I said, we've spent the last, 8 or 9 years together. Why would we spend 1 year apart? Let's do it and let's make this work. And so that was kind of how we made the decision for both of us to do it at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think the other, one of the hard parts for us was, of course, because we were elementary school teachers, we had built these great relationships with the kids and the families, and that was really difficult too, just saying goodbye to so many people that we loved and kids that we had watched grow up, from little first graders, and they just kept moving up and up. And so that was difficult for us too, but what we realized was we could slowly start to take our passion, teaching, and combine it with our other passion, photography, and bring those two things together so that even though we might not be in a physical classroom anymore, we could still cling on to that passion and that joy that we get from teaching.
And that was kind of one of the things that led us, as soon as we went full-time, within the first few months, we started blogging like once a week for photographers. About 6 months ago, we started a newsletter that goes out on Mondays called the Monday Minute for photographers. And a lot of people probably looked at that and might have thought, wow, that's really soon for them to already be putting out that kind of content. And what I told Amy is that we're teachers at heart. Educating people is our passion, and helping people go from where they are to where they want to be is something that's really important to us. And one of the greatest joys for us in the classroom was seeing a kid in the class who was struggling with a certain concept, or he had struggled in the grade prior and came into the classroom thinking, I'm not good at math, or I can't do, I can't write, or I can't read, or I can't do whatever, and being able to take what they felt like they couldn't do and then break it up into a step-by-step process so that they could do it. And that was one of the reasons that we decided to write the blog series Making the Leap, which is 10 practical steps for going full time, is that we looked at our journey and we said, wow, this is a complex process. Going from, just picking up a camera as a teacher and then going to being full time and shooting 25 weddings a year, plus portrait work and other things, that is a huge process. So I told Amy, I said, how do we break that down and take our journey and show people the way that we did it so that hopefully they can replicate that and do it too, because that's really something that we've just become so passionate about, is helping other photographers get from where they are to where they want to be. It's an incredible thing, to be able to help people do that.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll go ahead and we'll post a link to that underneath here when we're all said and done, so you guys can kind of go through and see their 10 steps that you guys wrote about. Thank you so much for coming on. I don't think we got no additional questions, but thank you so much. You guys are wonderful, and it's great to meet people who have made that transition. And I mean, Carrie and I have been together since long before she would like to admit, but I mean, yeah. So we're going on 15 years and 10 years away.
Congratulations.
Apparently, I'm 5 years older than you guys. Anyhow,
5 years wiser.
Not likely. But yeah, thank you so much for being on, guys. Come check out showatear.com to see more from Jordan and Amy. They'll contribute a couple times here and there when they have time taken away from their busy lives. But also, and then and go check them out on amyandjordan.com. Yep. Right? And their blog is, what's the whole URL for the blog?
It's amyandjordanblog.com.
amyandjordanblog.com. I like how they did that.
Blog.
Kind of unoriginal. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
And then definitely go ahead and subscribe to their newsletters and all that. There's great information weekly. They are mad about typing, and I absolutely love it, respect it. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and we'll see you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.